Hello and welcome to Pixel Magic Tutorials. I am your host Geekman, and today we're going to learn how to create a Valentine's Day wallpaper in Photoshop. Now, a couple of assumptions I need to get out of the way right off the bat. Number one, I am using Photoshop CC 2018. If you're using some of the earlier versions of Photoshop, some of the effects may not work as expected. Second, I am using Windows. So if you're using a Mac, when I say hit the Control key, that's the Command key. And when I say hit the Alt key, that's the Option key. So with that out of the way, let's get started by hitting Control N on the keyboard to bring up the new image dialog box. And let's name this Valentine Wallpaper, because that's what we're making. And our width here is going to be 3,840 pixels by 2,160 pixels, resolution of 150 pixels per inch, RGB color 8-bit, background doesn't matter. Under advanced options, we're working in sRGB color space, and our pixel aspect ratio is square pixels. Hit create. We're now ready to begin. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cheat a little and use an image for our background. Now, you can use any image that you want. I have links in the description below to all of the sources that I'm using, 2 images, a font, and then an action that I do in an earlier video. I'll tell you where to find that later, but there are links in the description below to all of this. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in the background image that we're using here, and I'm going to resize it to fill my canvas. Then I'm going to hit enter, and we now have our background, but it's a little bit lacking in the background department. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a gradient overlay to our background here. So I'm going to go down here to my layer styles, and I'm going to go to a gradient overlay here, and I'm going to make that a gradient overlay. Now, what I'm looking for here is it's going to be multiply. Okay, dither is going to be unchecked. I'm going to make this 85. Like so. The gradient that we're going to be using here is going to be a gradient where I take this first color right here, click on that, click on the color, and then I'm going to use the color, let's go with, let's see, D60309. Okay, this nice red color. Hit OK there, and then I'm going to click on this color right over here, click then on the color, so that's the little nub here, and then the color, and then I'm going to put in a deeper, darker red, which is going to be 480-100, like so, a much darker color there. And then we're going to go with OK. We're going to hit OK, and then we're going to go over here, and we're going to do, we're going to make this radial, like so. We're going to make it a line width layer here. We're going to make it 90 degrees, and the scale is going to be 100%. And you can see now the outside is darker than the center. Okay, and that's really all that we need to do there. Then we're going to name this, actually we can just leave this as roses because that's our background. It doesn't really matter what we name this. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put a new layer on top of this. So we're going to create a new layer up here. We're going to name this layer Shade, like that, and we're going to fill this layer with black. Now, if you don't have your foreground and background color as black and white, you can hit D on the keyboard, and that will make default black and white. And then all you want to do is for your shade layer, hit Alt and backspace. That will fill that with black. Okay, then we want to set our layer opacity here to only 50%. So you can just hit 5 on your keyboard, or you can go up here to opacity and click on 50% there. And you can see that we have a much darker background. Now you can lighten this up or leave it dark. I happen to like it looking dark. And you can see here we no longer need this white background, so let's just throw that away. Then we're going to select both of these, and we're going to group them by hitting Control G. And there we go, we're going to name this as background. And we now have our background for our wallpaper. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to work on a glass heart filled with red glitter, and that will be the main object of focus for this image. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we're going to set our foreground color to a nice, rich, pure red. Okay, so we're going to click on our foreground color, and we're going to drag all the way up here to pure red, or you can just type in FF0000, hit OK, and we now have red as our foreground color. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to select the custom shape tool. Now the custom shape tool can be found here on your toolbar, or you can hit U on your keyboard to bring it up, and then Shift U in order to cycle between them. I'll show you how. Shift and U, and you will cycle between all of the custom shape tools. Okay, what you really want is this little starfishy looking guy, custom shape tool. That's what we're looking for. And up here, make sure that your fill is the red color that we had chosen. No stroke, Width and height doesn't make a difference. None of this really matters. What you want over here is shape. So you want to click on this little arrow. And if you're not seeing these shapes here, then you want to go to the little sprocket, go down here to where it says shapes, click on that, replace your current shapes, hit OK, and then you will see these. And we're looking for this guy right here, which is heart card. It's the heart from a deck of cards. So we're going to use that. Then you can click off. And then what you're going to do is hold down Shift on your keyboard and then click and drag out a heart to the size that you want. Now I happen to want kind of a medium-sized one, something like that size. And once you're done, let go, and you now have a nice big heart. Let's go back to our Move tool, V on the keyboard, and let's move this to the exact center of our screen like so. And now we have a heart. Let's rename this as heart. H-E-R-T, heart. Okay, because now we have our heart layer. Okay, now we need to apply a layer style to the heart layer in order to get it to look the way that we want it to look. So let's start with that. So let's go down here to our layer styles, click on that, and we're going to start with bevel and emboss. So let's just bring that up, and here's our bevel and emboss. And the bevel and emboss that we're looking for here is going to be an inner bevel. We're going to leave it as smooth. The depth that we're looking for is 615. Direction is up. Size is going to be 18. And soften here is going to be 0. Shading over here, make sure that you uncheck Use Global Light first. We never really use that. The angle that we're going to use is 135. The altitude is going to be at 55. Gloss contour here is going to be ring double, which is it ring double? Yes, it is ring double, which is this guy right here, ring double. Okay, anti-alias is checked here. Color dodge is the highlight mode. We're going to use pure white, which is all Fs. We're going to go opacity of 85. Shadow mode multiply. Color here is going to be black, which is all zeros. And opacity is going to be 65%. The next thing that we're going to do is a contour over here. So we're going to click on contour, and then we're going to go over here to the contour, and it's going to be the cone inverted, which is right here. Then we're going to go anti-alias is checked, and range here is going to be on 50. Next up, we're going to give this a little stroke. So let's click on stroke, and we're going to do our size of 10. It's going to be inside. It's going to be blend mode of overlay. Opacity here is going to be at 55. Overprint is checked. Fill type is color, and the color is pure white. That's all Fs. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to give this an inner glow. Okay, so click on inner glow, and the blend mode that we're looking for here is going to be pin light, opacity of 50, noise is going to be 0. The color that we're using is once again pure white, which is all Fs. Okay, we're going to make it technique of softer. Source here is going to be the edge. Out choke is going to be 0. Size is going to be 20. Contour here is going to be cone, which is this guy right here. Cone. Anti-alias is checked. Range is going to be 25. Jitter is 0. Next thing up is going to be satin right there. We're going to give it some satin. Blend mode is going to be screen. Okay, and we're going to make that white, which is all Fs. Opacity here is going to be at 15%. Angle is 113 degrees. Distance is going to be 150. Size is going to be 250. The contour that we're going for here is going to be peaks, which is this guy right here, right before you get over here to ring. It's this guy, not ring double, but peaks. Okay, anti-alias is checked, and invert is checked. Next up is going to be outer glow. So we're going to click down here on outer glow. We're going to give a blend mode of screen. Opacity is 40%. Noise is going to be 0. The color that we're using here is FF7E7E. Okay. Technique here is going to be softer. Spread is 0. Size is going to be 70. Contour is linear. That's the default. Anti-alias is unchecked. Range is going to be 75. Jitter is 0. Last thing that we're going to do is give it a little drop shadow. So click on drop shadow. The blend mode here is going to be multiply. It's going to be black, which is all zeros. Opacity here is going to be 100%. Angle, remember, use global light is unchecked. 135 degrees. Distance is 27. Okay, spread is going to be 0. Size is going to be 40. Contour is linear. Anti-alias is unchecked. Noise is going to be 0. Layer knocks out drop shadow is checked. And that's all that we need here. Hit OK, and then we can minimize that, and we now have our heart. But the heart looks a little plain, even with all of those effects that we put on it. It's not quite what we want. So that's where we're going to bring in our glitter. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to pull in our glitter. So I have a link in the description below where you can download this glitter, or you can find whatever you want and use that to fill this, or you can just use the heart as it is right now. But I'm going to use this glitter. So let's bring that in, and here is my glitter. Now I'm going to resize this slightly just so that it's is just bigger than my heart. like so. Then I'm going to hit enter. And we now have my glitter right here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change this color. We don't want gold heart. We want red heart glitter. So we're going to put in a hue saturation adjustment layer above our glitter photo here. See, I've got this named as glitter. You can name it as glitter if you want. So let's do a hue saturation, and that's under adjustment layers, which is this guy right down here. Click on that, and let's go to hue saturation. Click on that. And then what we want to do is we want to change this to red. Now, red is going to be -50. Okay, and then over here under saturation, we're going to make it +100. And then over here under lightness, we're going to make it +10. Now you can see that it's changing the entire, let's make this low. It's changing the color of everything, and that's not what we want. What we want to do is we want our hue saturation only to affect our glitter layer, and we want our glitter layer only to be inside of our heart layer. Now how do we do that? We're going to just clip them to each other. And the way that you do that is you hold down Alt on your keyboard and move your mouse in between the layers that you want to clip together. And the layer that's on top is what will show, but only in the space occupied by the layer below it. So here, glitter, we want to clip that to heart. So we hold down Alt and we put our mouse in between glitter and heart, click once, and now our glitter is only inside of our heart. Then we want the hue saturation to only affect the glitter that is inside of our heart. So we hold down the Alt key again and click in between glitter and hue saturation. And now our hue saturation is only affecting the glitter inside of our heart. And we now have our heart filled with red glitter. Okay, now this is where things get a little weird if you have not watched any of my earlier videos. I have a video link in the description below for a glass sphere action. Okay, now that tutorial is something that you should watch because the glass sphere is actually very useful in a lot of artwork. Now we're going to use it here to make this heart look like it's in glass. Okay, so I'm just going to use the action. But if you don't have that action already, stop this now, go down to the link below and watch that video so that you can create your action to follow along with this. Then come back and watch this. So here we go. Under actions, you will find your glass sphere action. Make sure it is highlighted and then just press play. And you will then get to this thing, and you want to make sure that your lens flare is right in the middle. Everything else should be set. Hit OK, and then you've got your glass sphere right here. And all you want to do is you want to take your glass sphere and drag it over to your Valentine wallpaper and then drop it in there. And you can see it's much, much larger than your heart. So we're going to resize this. Now you no longer need the glass sphere. You can save it so that you can use it in other things and then you don't have to use the action again. But we have the action, so we don't need it. So let's get rid of that. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to resize this and transform it basically and resize it and turn it so that we've got a shine in the upper left-hand corner and this reflection of the shine in the lower right down here. That will make it look as if it is in, as if it were a glass heart. So let's hit Control T on the keyboard and let's bring this down like so, somewhere around there. And let's get this guy centered just like that. And then we will turn this until we have it like that. And as you can see, this looks pretty good, except it's way outside the boundaries of the heart. Now we're going to fix that. First, let's resize it just a little bit more like this. That looks pretty good. And here's how we're going to do that. Up here, in the tool options bar up here, you'll see this little warpy looking thing, and that is to warp your object. So we're going to click on that, and then you'll see this this grid show up on your object. And what we want to do is we want to then grab this right here like this and just push it on in like so until it's where we want it to be, like this. Okay, and then we want to bring this down a little bit like so, and you just push and pull things until it looks the way you want it to look, basically. And you can see that this is now looking more and more and more like it is glass. Now don't worry about stuff that's on the outside. Just make sure that you actually do cover the entire image here with your with your glass, with your sphere. Okay, you don't want to have any parts that are not covered. So make sure you have every part of it covered the way that you want. And you don't have to worry about what's outside. So this looks pretty good, at least to me, for this tutorial. Let's move this just a little bit more like this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, and then, whoop, missed this spot down here. See, you want to make sure that you're fully covered. Every part of my heart is now covered, and I've got a nice shine up here and a nice reflection down here. So this is what I want. I'm going to hit enter on the keyboard to accept that, and you can see that it looks a little weird, but what we're going to do is we're going to create a layer mask on our glass sphere layer of the heart. So the way that you do that is you hold down Control on your keyboard, and you'll see your mouse turns into this little pointer hand with a little marching ant square. And then you just click on the thumbnail image, not on the layer, but on the thumbnail image of the layer that you want to create the mask of. So click there, and you'll see we now have marching ants around our heart, which will also tell us if our sphere is outside the boundaries of that, and it's close down here, but it's good enough. And then all that you need to do is go down here to the mask icon, click on that, and we now have a perfect glass heart. Now, once we have all of that, all we have to do is select all of our heart layers, which is all of these, okay? And we just want to turn that into a group, so hit Control G on the keyboard, and then what we're going to do is rename this as heart. The last thing that we're going to do is we're going to put in some text underneath our heart that says, "Be my Valentine." And that's very easy to do, so let's get started on that. Okay, the font that I'm using, again, I have a link in the description below to that font. So I'm going to hit T on the keyboard to bring up my font tool. Now the font I'm using is called, whoops, not Actions, I want Character, Lovely Day. Okay, I'm using it at 100 points. The color doesn't matter because we're going to be covering this with our glitter, but this time we're going to leave our glitter as gold. Okay, this time I am also not using all caps because I want there to be large and small letters. Okay, so I'm going to click right over here, and I'm going to put in "Be my" and "Valentine," just like that. Okay, now it's hard to see because it's black on this, so I'm going to change it to white, but like I said, it doesn't really matter. Okay, go to V on my keyboard so that I can move this around, and I want it to be about here, but it's too close. So I am going to give it a little bit more space by going back to my text tool, clicking once over here, and then just giving it 2 clicks to put extra space between it. Then I'm going to accept that, go back to my move tool, and I'm going to move this to where I think it looks good, right about here-ish, I think, and that looks fine to me. So next what we're going to do is we're going to apply a little layer style to give this a little bit of a glow, and then we're going to put our glitter on top. Okay, so let's go down here to our layer effects, and we're going to go down here to outer glow. Okay, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to go up here to screen. The opacity that we're looking for is going to be 100. The noise that we're looking for is going to be at 20. So let's bring that up to 20, 20, 20. There we go. The color that we're looking for here is going to be a weird kind of odd color, but it'll look fine once we are done. Okay, it is going to be, let's see, what are we doing here? E8. B62, well, B62, E, like so. Sorry about that. And it's this kind of goldy-ish color. It's not really gold, not really yellow. It's just kind of there. Hit OK. All right, and the technique that we're going for here is softer. The spread is going to be 0. The size that we're looking for is going to be 15. So 1.5. Okay, the contour that we're looking for here is linear. Anti is going to be off. Range here is going to be at 70. So let's make this 70. And jitter here is going to be 0. Okay, and you can see it's kind of got this little bit of fleck on the outside, but not much. That's really all that we need because the glitter that we're going to put over this is going to give it the real effect, okay? So what we're going to do is going to re-import our glitter image, okay? So I'm going to bring that in over here. And again, we're just going to make this fit over our text like so, somewhere around like that. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to clip the glitter to our text by holding down Alt on the keyboard, putting our mouse in between glitter and our text, clicking once on the keyboard. Oh, come on, click, click. Oh, I have to accept that. Okay, I put it in there. And then we just got to click there. And you can see we now have Be My Valentine in gold underneath a glass heart for our wallpaper. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and subscribe. I do new tutorials every Tuesday. And once again, this is Geekman signing off for Pixel Magic Tutorials.